Miami! To mission control, we have liftoff. Phinhub! Phinhub! We talking Dolphins City! Phinhub, Phinhub! Yeah! It's that Dolphin Show! Phinhub!
Welcome to the Phinhub Show, the one NFL podcast you can't leave off your roster. Now here's your host, Joey and Kevin Tejido.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Phinhub Show. Today we got Tyreek Hill news. Didn't have his best season as a Miami Dolphin last year. It seems like he also had a wrist injury. Then there was talks about him potentially leaving the Miami Dolphins, being traded. And then during the Super Bowl run, he was talking about how, he regrets, some of the ways that he portrayed himself in that last game against the Jets, and regrets, some of the things that he said. But now he's also coming out, and it seems like he's promising his best year as a Miami Dolphin. But before we get into that, let's have a word from BetterHelp. Thank you for sponsoring this video. Life can be stressful. Work, relationships, personal struggles can weigh us down, but you don't have to go through it alone. BetterHelp connects you with licensed therapists online, so you can get the support you need whenever and wherever you need it. With BetterHelp, you'll find professional, experienced therapists who specialize in what matters most to you: anxiety, depression, relationships, or personal growth. There's someone who understands. Therapy should be accessible and convenient. With BetterHelp, you can text, chat, phone, or video call your therapist whenever it fits your schedule. No waiting rooms, no long commute, just real help right at your fingertips. Take the first step towards feeling better. Sign up for BetterHelp today and get matched with a licensed therapist in as little as 48 hours. You deserve to be heard. Hit the link in the description and visit BetterHelp today. So there you have it. If you guys are looking for help there, BetterHelp.com/Phinhub to get started. So we have an article written here by Caitlin Holroyd. Tyreek Hill is promising his best year as a Miami Dolphin. Tyreek Hill expects to bounce back in a big way next season. The Miami Dolphins wide receiver made a bold promise to fans on X while celebrating his 31st birthday Saturday, tweeting, "This will be my best year yet, Dolphins," followed by a peace sign emoji. Hill failed to reach the 1,000-yard receiving mark last season for the first time since 2019, finishing with 81 receptions for 959 yards and 6 touchdowns in 17 games. He also missed out on the playoffs and the Pro Bowl for the first time in his 9-year NFL career. The 5-time first-team All-Pro suggested he was ready to move on from the Dolphins at the end of the 2024 campaign, but has since walked back his comments, citing frustration with how the season went. Hill recently underwent surgery on his wrist to repair ligament damage and is expected to be sidelined for most of the offseason while he recovers. So a lot to take in there for the Dolphins. And it seems like now it's confirmed that he's going to be missing most of the offseason with that wrist surgery. What do you take from all this?
Well, I think, hearing McDaniel's comments during that Super Bowl. Well, no, not Super Bowl. What am I talking about? Hearing McDaniel's comments recently, as far as the NFL Combine, he's doing all these interviews. He did one with, Chris Sims and, the other guy that we don't want to mention. We don't really like him too much on this channel either. But he did an interview, and he was basically saying how him and Tyreek, they have a great open line of communication. They talk. They spoke about things after. They have a great relationship. I would like to think that that conversation went well. And I think maybe McDaniel was basically giving Tyreek some validity to his actions, because it's like, yeah, I understand your frustration. I understand that you had these two record-breaking years for himself, because he's the only wide receiver in NFL history to have over 1,700 yards in back-to-back seasons. Mm-hmm. So it was record-breaking. It was fantastic. It was something that we have never seen before. And I get it, in a sense. I do get why Tyreek Hill was frustrated. He's this guy that's like, I'm about to break 2,000 receiving yard mark, all this. He's barely involved in the offense. There's context behind it. We know Tua goes down. We know that, people are playing us differently now. But I did like one of McDaniel's comments in that interview, and he was basically saying people didn't really have the tape that they had on defenses playing on us in previous years was very minimal. And last year, what they were able to gather was a bunch. And he's seeing patterns to certain things, right? So if we're calling a certain play, we know exactly when the defense shifts this way, they're expecting this. So he knows how to counter things, quote unquote, is what he's saying, which I think is going to be very interesting. But going back to the Tyreek Hill thing, I appreciate it. You know, this guy was literally voted as the best NFL player by his peers just last year. This isn't something that grows on trees. This is generational. It's someone you want to have on your side. It's someone that you want to have fully committed. And I'm extremely happy to see, I'm excited. I want to see what's the product going to be like next year, because McDaniel was also saying offensive line is going to be a huge emphasis this offseason, not only in free agency, but also in the draft. We can have a great offensive line finally see Tua with the weapons that he needed and an offensive line. And I know people are going to say, what else does he need? Oh, he's got the offensive line. He's got all these weapons. At the end of the day, the most important part is the offensive line. You can't live off of 2.5 seconds to throw the ball every single down. Mm-hmm. Eventually, things aren't going to go your way. Right. But if Tua gets enough time, things can break down. Tyreek could do what he's best at, which is when plays break down, he could just run freely across the field and Tua can connect with him, and he's going to be wide open because people can't keep up with Tyreek for more than 3 seconds. Right. So if we can get that going, I think I know I kind of went on this whole random thing, but I think it's Tyreek is very confident, and I think the Dolphins coming into next year are very confident. I'm excited to see what happens because it's either put up or shut up, and it's going to be huge.
Yeah, so. This is definitely that season where I think a lot of the big decisions could be made after this. Yeah, it's if things don't go well, I see a lot of people leaving. I see Tyreek Hill's gone. Oh, yeah. I think the Tua idea is gone. I mean, there's a lot of changes that'll happen, in my opinion. I could be wrong because I've been wrong before a lot of times.
No, I mean, I think you're 100% right in that.
But I do appreciate this from Tyreek Hill. I do expect a much better season from Tyreek, especially if the offensive line is improved. Quarterback aside, I think it's just something that works well with Tyreek Hill. You buy him a little bit more time, and he can be downfield. Mm-hmm. And instead of Tua now having to look, short because he's in trouble, he can actually step back, let Tyreek get downhill, and fire away. So,
and for the people that say that Tua doesn't have the arm strength for that, we know that that's not true.
I mean, that's not true.
Tua for not last season, but the previous two was the most efficient deep ball thrower in the NFL. Yeah. So let's not act like he can't get it there.
I think it's just false. It's kind of like outdated. Yeah. He doesn't. I think it's well known. He doesn't have the biggest arm. He never will. It's not. That's not to his game though. His game is anticipation. It's the accuracy. Can he get the ball downfield? He can. Now it looks a lot different than what Josh Allen does. Josh Allen is a different kind of quarterback. Doesn't have the same anticipation. Doesn't have the same accuracy. What he does have is that ball strength. Yeah. He has that arm strength where if he needs to fit it into a tight window last second, he can do that. Exactly. Tua needs the anticipation to get the ball there on time.
He could do the same thing just in a different way.
In a different way.
Yeah.
So,
which is just as effective. The only thing he doesn't have is the legs that Josh Allen
there's
has.
a lot of things. You know what I mean? Yeah. That Josh Allen's he's a different kind of guy.
The thing is, those guys don't grow on trees.
Yeah,
either.
Exactly.
Just like Tyreek Hill, Josh Allen, that type of talent. There's only one Josh Allen in the NFL.
And the Dolphins have to work with what they have right now.
Yeah.
We
made the commitment.
It is Tyreek Hill. It is Jaylen Waddle. It is Tua. It is Jonnu, at least for another year. So if they can piece this offensive line together, I'm hoping that the Dolphins will be a much better product offensively, a much more consistent product offensively. I mean, and just considering devon, achane is going to be back for another year. Jalen Wright is going to be in his second season.
Yeah, he needs to get a shot.
Yeah, now that we let go of raheem, mostert, Jalen Wright's going to get more touches. So you put together an offensive line, and now you can have time to throw the ball, holes that will open up for our speedy running backs that can take off and take it to the house. Yeah. It should be, in theory, a much, much better offense, much more consistent offense. So I like what Tyreek Hill said, and I am expecting him to bounce back.
Not to mention, I mean, we did add in a new wrinkle this season with Jonnu Smith. I think that's going to be big. You know, if we can just mix him in the way we were using him, but now we got Tyreek getting his production back, Jaylen Waddle. We all know the type of year that devon achane had. I consider him more as a weapon rather than a every down back. Maybe Jalen Wright can take on that role, but if we have another guy out there has that home run type of speed in devon achane, Tyreek Hill, Jaylen Waddle, and then on top of that, you got a guy that can actually be a 3-down back in Jalen Wright. The possibilities are endless, but we do need to fix this offensive line, and that is the most important thing. So I just have a quick question. If we were able to get 2 starting caliber guards in free agency, are you still drafting offensive linemen in the early rounds, or are you like maybe looking for a special weapon like a tight end, or maybe a guy on defense and a safety? There's a lot of options out there.
Okay, so I just think it's who are you drafting in free agency?
Yeah.
How good?
Who are you signing in free agency?
Yeah, I mean, who are you signing in free agency? And then who's falling to you in the draft?
Yeah.
So
there's so many names, by the way, that are going to be available at 13 that we will be ecstatic about.
Yeah, if it depends. I mean, there's talent there that could be considered generational that you're going to be like, man, we can't not get this guy.
Well, let's think about at tackle right now. There's 3 tackles out there. 2 of them are projected more so like guards, but even then, they have that versatility that they could play left. They can play left tackle or left guard. But you have Will Campbell, you have Kelvin Banks, and then on the right side you have I think it's Armand Membu. Is that how you say it?
Look,
something like that. I'm just saying really fast. Those guys would be guards. I think it's not too much, even if you get 2 starting caliber guards, to have those guys on your side, because now you have the security throughout the rest of the season. No matter what, it's not going to be like, oh, but our right guard and our left guard got injured or this and that, So
this is my thing. The Dolphins have been in such a predicament with the offensive line for years. Every single fan knows this. Every single fan has been banging the table for something like this. I would not be mad at Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer for overcompensating in free agency and through the draft. Even if we have a guy that should be a starter on another team, but we have him on the bench because we have so many viable offensive linemen, I'm for it, man. We've seen injuries. We've seen injuries happen on the offensive line, and you start out the season thinking, okay, we should be we should have a decent offensive line, but because of injuries, it just takes one guy to start that problem start happening in the offensive line, and it trickles down. It's a domino effect. So I wouldn't be mad at overcompensating at all. So let's see.
Yeah, it's just there is a possibility of that offensive line possibly. It's just like a complete overhaul because we don't know what's going to happen with Teron Armstead. Left guard's going to be a brand new player. We're not going to bring back Rob Jones or anything like that. Right guard's going to be a brand new player. Right tackle, we're bringing back Austin Jackson. Depending on what they're going to do there, are they going to move him to guard? Are we going to put someone else at right tackle? We don't even know. So you need to have a lot of options. You need that. You need true competition throughout, the offseason so that we can really see who the best option is. And if it's just that you have much needed depth, it's great. It's still a home run.
Yeah.
Because let's say you sign a guy for a year or 2, and you draft a kid in the 1st and the 2nd round that can play offensive line on the offensive line, no matter what, and maybe they have that versatility to move around. You have your young guy in place. But then you have the veteran that can, go out, give you that stability throughout the year while the other guy's learning, and then you just transfer them out the next season. Yeah. It's fine. So I think it's a good idea. I know this video wasn't about that, but it's a heavy topic, and we have to talk about it because that is the biggest thing with the Dolphins. So
if you guys haven't already checked out BetterHelp, thank you for sponsoring this video. It's going to do it for today, guys. Make sure to like, subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one. Fins up.